Welcome to the Filmcast review of Drive Away Dolls. I'm going to read the plot summary from the internet. Quote, in search of a fresh start, two women embark on an impromptu road trip to Tallahassee, Florida. However, things quickly go awry when they cross paths with a group of inept criminals along the way, end quote. This is a movie by Ethan Coen, written by Ethan Coen and I think Trisha Cook, is that right? Trisha Cook wrote the screenplay with him. Ethan Coen now doing it on his own, no longer the Coen brothers, but certainly a lot of Coen brothers inspired antics and tone in this film. Devindra Hardawar, what did you think of Drive Away Dolls?
So I went into this movie kind of like Jeff. I actually didn't know much about this other than Ethan Coen directing it. This movie was not really promoted much, so I never ran to any trailers. It just kind of appeared. I was like, okay, I'm just going to roll with this. It stars people I like, so just went in expecting a good time. And I will say a good time I had. This is I think this movie's it's a wild romp. It's a lot of fun. Sure, a little tonally inconsistent. I think it takes a while to like get to the vibe of what it is. Although the very first scene probably sets up like how silly of a movie this is.
Right.
But no, I was totally like I think it took me like 5 or 10 minutes, but I was totally vibing with this movie, this adventure these two girls are going on. It's a journey of self-discovery and self-expression too. It is a weirdly horny movie from a Coen brother, which is also kind of unusual, but hey, all for it. There was a lot going on in this movie that I did not expect going in. Certainly not a movie to bring your parents to, I guess, but I had a lot of fun with it. Margaret Qualley in particular reminds me a lot. There's a lot of like Nicolas Cage from Raising Arizona in here, in her voice, in her like mannerisms, just like how crazy she is. Love the crazy henchman or the silly henchman too. Like it is just like classic Coen stuff. That I enjoyed spending time with, and this movie doesn't waste your time. You're in, you're out. I think it's a fun journey. I like these characters, and I think it's a funny script, even if not all the jokes land, and sometimes it's like a little repetitive, maybe. But I had a really good time with it. Maybe because it was also not a great day for me yesterday. That was the day when I learned, most of my colleagues were being fired. So that wasn't great. But this movie, I think it was like the dose of energy and hilarity that I needed at the time, and I really dig it. Like I want to rewatch this with my wife because I think she'll have a lot of fun with it too.
How great is it to not know anything going into a movie?
I mean, in this case, it's good. In this case, sometimes I don't know, Jeff. Yeah.
Margaret Qualley, by the way, completely charming and irresistible in this film.
I love Geraldine Viswanathan. Also great. Like I've loved her in everything I've seen her in.
But it's I've seen Margaret Qualley in a few things. The Leftovers. I think she was in Poor Things. Nice Guys
towards the end.
Right. And so I've seen her a few things, but like this is such a different energy that she brought to this one that I haven't seen before, and I just think she's wonderful in this. She's like of the engine of the movie, and I thought she did a lovely job. Jeff Canada, what do you think of Drive Away Dolls?
Well, Dave, what I thought of Drive Away Dolls was best summed up in the form of a limerick. Give me two Coens or give me any, because there's still lots to like. There's plenty. I had so much fun, but for gripes, there's just one. Third act coincidence too many.
Very nice.
Thank you. We'll get to that, obviously, in spoilers. But I'm right there with Devindra. I had so much fun with this movie, and it really is squarely in my sensibilities. I just am such a Coen brothers stan. I am such a sucker for their particular brand of language and visual aesthetic and just sort of quirky, heightened, not very realistic, but kind of feels how reality feels way of looking at the world. There is one scene in particular toward the beginning of this movie that is like quintessential Coen brothers to me, quintessential what I love, the prime example of what I love about their work. And it is, we're in this nondescript, rundown, weird drive-away office.
I was gonna say, is it Curly's place? That's what I thought.
Which, is that a thing? Like, I've never heard of that.
I've never heard of this, but it is a thing you can arrange. But it's never like there's an office to do like you drive somebody's car somewhere.
I would have believed that this was completely fabricated for this movie, and I wouldn't have had minded at all. Like but anyway, so they're in this office, and there is what's the name of the actor that plays Curly? Oh gosh, I don't have him in front of me.
Bill Camp, right?
Bill Camp.
Yeah, oh, he's so great. Yeah, Bill
so
Camp.
good.
Thank you. He's so great. He's in the foreground. Two weird dudes in the background, or I guess it's not really framed that way. But anyway, the idea is that there's dialogue happening sort of in the corners of the frame. Everybody is super deadpan and just saying these words that are written in this very stylized way. And it is all so composed and composited and weird, but just feels like what it feels like to go into some weird place in the middle of nowhere and talk to some person that doesn't want to be standing there. And it never would play out exactly like that because there's a poetry to how it's all written. But man, because it's heightened, it gets to this place that just strikes a chord and you go, oh my God, I've been in that situation before with that guy in that place. Just nobody wants to be there. It's excruciating to everyone involved. And the movie is full of stuff like that. In classic Coen Brothers style, the writing is whip smart. The characters are bizarre and interesting and distinct. And, like you guys, I loved Margaret Qualley. 2 minutes in, I was like, I don't know about this accent, but half an hour in, I was like, I love this accent.
She is the child of H.I. McDonough, or something. Like there's like some continuation there.
It's great. And the way that the Coen brothers constantly find this kind of subculture's vernacular, the way that they mine the particular ways that certain types of people speak and find ways to build character around that, I just find so enjoyable. And this movie, like, I don't think it was a home run by the end or at the end, but I had so much fun watching it. I felt, as I said in my limerick, that it it gets a little too convenient there at the end, and it's a little too cheeky. It's a bit too on the nose, but
cheeky and other things. Yes.
Yeah. But I had a blast at the movie theater. And again, it's like an hour, 26 minutes.
Yeah.
It's a breezy, fun romp. It's great.
Definitely a movie that movies ask things of us, and often the primary way that they ask things of us is through the runtime. And this is a movie that does not ask that much of you and also gives you a lot. And I am very, very grateful for it. I had a great time with this film. Super fun. Margaret Qualley, MVP in my opinion. The thing that's sad about this movie is, guys, we used to be able to get a Coen Brothers movie once every 1 to 2 years, and they wouldn't always be great. This one I would say is right down the middle. It's a very solid one. I don't think it's going to be like one of the all-time classics or anything like that, nor do I think it's bad in any way. It's just, hey, that was a fun kind of inconsequential romp. We used to get these all the time. We used to get like the Lady Killers,
right?
Intolerable Cruelty. They weren't all great, but like, hey, they're always doing something interesting.
They're doing something, and then they make No Country for Old Men. You're like, that's a masterpiece.
Yes.
They used to do like the one for me, one for them kind of thing, where they would make a movie that was like a huge hit, like No Country for Old Men, and then they're like, I'm doing A Serious Man now, and that this kind of movie is pretty much going away. Like we rarely get these kinds of movies anymore. Where it's like low to mid budget by an auteur director that's not IP driven, that doesn't have necessarily any big name stars. Although I'm obviously very have a lot of respect for Margaret Qualley,
for sure.
But
like Ballad of Buster Scruggs was 2018.
Yeah,
that feels like forever.
And it was essentially direct to Netflix. There was I think limited run in theaters, I think, but yeah, it's essentially direct to Netflix. So it basically reminded me of the good old days, when the Coen brothers could just make these movies once every couple of years, and you'd watch it, you'd have a good time, and then you don't need to spend 6 months theorizing about who is in the post-credit sequence. Like it's just a good time and really, really funny. I was like I think I was the only person laughing in the theater, but there's only like 6 other people with me, so whatever.
It
I had
was
a great
just
time.
me. It was just me, and I was laughing aloud by myself in the
Yeah.
I
theater,
laughed a
so-
lot too.
Yeah, it's really
a very
funny,
funny
and
movie.
particularly
Yeah.
the ending is really funny. So let's get to that. Yeah. So spoilers for Driveway Dolls starting right now. I think there's various times in this film where it feels like the filmmakers are aware that they're making a film, right? I mean, there's all these interstitials that like kind of transition between scenes. But one of my favorite moments of the movie is when the 2 girls discover what is inside the case, and
Mhm.
then Margaret Qualley's character talks to Beanie Feldstein's character and is like explaining it to her on the phone. And literally at the moment she says what it is, some guy's radio goes off, and then she's
Yeah.
like, "Turn that down!" And then so you as the audience don't
Mhm.
hear what it
So
is
good.
until the very end. It's just nice that they're like, hey, we're gonna obscure this for you until the end of the movie, and
Having
we
so
know,
much fun with it.
yeah, we know that we're obscuring it, and you know that we're obscuring it, so let's
Yeah.
just have a little fun with it.
And we're
Yeah.
all questioning, like, what's in the case? What's
Yeah,
in the
what's in
case?
the case?
You will not guess what's in the case, which is also funny too. Like the actual reveal is like, did not expect a case of dicks.
It
Did
almost
not
felt
expect
like
that.
it almost felt like a parody of
Yeah.
what that kind of thing
Yes,
would be in
absolutely.
movies, right?
And that's
Um,
honestly, that was my only complaint, is that it's like these people find that like of all the gin joints in all the world, it had to be this one. It feels
Listen,
like such a
childless couple runs into, a couple that has way too many kids. Hilarity ensues, like that's
I get
their
it.
universe.
I get it. But I think, the movie would have been like, these people finding any case would have been funny. Like the inciting incident, right, is somebody needs to go to Tallahassee.
Yeah.
Next people walk through the door. We want to go to Tallahassee, and they get the wrong car, right?
Mhm.
That's the inciting incident. The fact that they happen to be the perfect people to get this particular case in that case of mistaken identity is it was a bit of a bridge too far for me, but I also recognize how much fun the filmmakers were having at that point, and it's like, okay, I'm with you. It's a bag of dicks.
It's a bag of dicks. I mean, it's also, I love the way this movie leans into like, just, it's about lesbians trying to make friends with other lesbians, and like that's it. It's very unapologetic about what it is, and then you get to the point in the case, it's a case of dicks. You know what's going to happen with that. So yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I mean, I have so many favorite moments in this movie, but one of them is when Coleman Domingo. It's all very silly by the end, right?
Mhm,
Coleman Domingo's character is the monologuing. There's no reason he needs to tell these women this information, right? He is explaining what the significance of the dicks. And for those who are listening to this but don't know what the movie's about, these women accidentally take this suitcase down to Tallahassee, and they don't know what's in it. They open it and they find, I think it's 5 dildos of varying shapes and sizes.
5 molds.
Yeah, 5
men.
which are based off
phalli.
of real life men's penises, right?
Uh-huh.
And it just so turns out that one of those penises belongs to a conservative congressperson from Florida, played by Matt Damon. And so they're trying to get this back. So they're trying to get Matt Damon's dildo shaped, the Matt Damon dildo back before it hurts his career. Which,
Yeah.
by the way, that's one of the, I guess back then, I think this movie takes place in 1999.
99. Takes in 99.
So back then, that would have been a scandal, right?
But
Yeah, I guess.
Here's the thing: if this is a real like Streisand effect type thing, like if you don't go looking for it, sending hitmen for the dick, having like a whole pickup operation for the dick, nobody would know.
Yeah,
nobody would know it's your dick. There's no
feels like
identification there. Yeah,
it feels like a vaguely Clinton administration type
Mhm.
scandal. But also, it occurred to me while watching that this is an example of the thing we've talked about numerous times on the show, where this movie had to take place in 1999
Yes.
because a single cell phone ruins this movie.
Well, one of the guys in the car has a cell phone, but it makes sense that the 2 girls wouldn't have cell phones. At
Exactly.
that time, right?
or they have dumb phones. Like at the best, some people have dumb phones.
Right.
you
Yeah,
know?
but it feels like more and more these movies are just going to have to be period. There's no other reason this movie needed to be a period movie.
Yeah.
It's just like, well, if everybody has an iPhone in their pocket, then none of this happens.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And they have to look through a map and they have to chart the thing through the map and they
Yes.
can't just
Right.
sit there and do GPS. So
Right.
you know, that's
This
part
is-
of the fun.
This is what we're losing. This is what
I
we've
know.
lost in the era of smartphones is, you know, marking on the map world's biggest Dixie cup and then being able to go there, you know?
And there's
So-
there's going to be a moment at which like nobody remembers these times, and so then these movies become basically like Old West movies. It's like no one's around to remember those times, but we know they existed.
Right.
You know?
Right. It's a time capsule, basically.
Yeah.
It's a time capsule. So anyway, so he explains. I don't even remember where I was going with this, but oh yeah. Well, I was saying, I think it actually modern day audiences, when you watch this, it probably seems extremely quaint that this could be even possibly a scandal.
For sure.
But I think it's believable that you know he would care. No, I don't know that he would send people to kill for it.
How would anybody trace it? Like unless like there was like we got a clear shot of the senator's dick and we have done forensic analysis. This dildo is his dick.
Every dick has a very specific, you know, shape and pattern, Devindra.
They say like every dick is a snowflake.
Every dick is a snowflake.
I mean,
That's right.
we have a vague description of Trump's dick. You know, that is the world we live in. That is the world we live in, which is dumber than the reality of this farcical movie.
It's so true.
We
That is
do. We
accurate.
have that. He has paid a porn star.
Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing we live in this world.
I was going to say my favorite part of the movie is when Coleman Domingo is giving a monologue explaining what it is, and it's cutting back to the hotel room like it's like a thriller. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's
to the
like,
cleaning lady.
Oh, this is when she discovers the dead body, but it's instead Matt Damon's dildo.
Yeah,
it was an amazing moment in the film.
Incredible.
I love it.
I love how throughout the movie, you know, we are led to believe that these are this is like a criminal underworld, you know, typical Coen brothers, and you know they're all throughout it trying to be very reasonable. Like they're just really doing their best to try to be reasonable about it. Like just give the bag of dicks back.
I love the hitmen. Like the hitmen are just like, one is personable guy, likes to talk, the other guy likes to hit things, and their whole that is also such a perfect Coen pairing of hitmen, right? Like it is Fargo, it is so many other things, but
so
love
good.
them, but they're just trying to be reasonable. They are.
Maybe treat them like human beings. That whole Joey Slotnick talking.
Just want to hit things.
It's so good, and then how they're described as of Mice and Men. You know, she's like, read a book. It's very funny. Very funny.
Yeah, indeed. And then Matt Damon's speech at the end of the film I thought was very good, like him rebelling against the commodification. It's a whole like reversal of like it's the men who are objectified in this movie, right? And that's very funny. But unfortunately not the world we actually live in these days. So any other thoughts about Drive-Away Dolls?
I mean, it's just funny. Like I think like how unapologetic this movie is, right? It is about two lesbian friends who go off to explore themselves and kind of their sexuality at the same time. And it's all meaningful to the characters too. Like we have the free spirit, we have the more like buttoned up one, and to kind of see like Geraldine Viswanathan kind of open up a little bit too, I think is a lot of fun.
And when they have their like intimate love scene, it was actually quite moving, I thought.
It was very sweet.
She's very sweet and very tender, you know, that when they come together. Yeah. So
I'm glad you brought her up, because we shouldn't go through this whole review without talking about
she's
her.
So good.
She I thought, you know, as much as we all fawned over Margaret Qualley, and rightfully so, I think Geraldine Viswanathan is absolutely fantastic in this part too, and she kind of gets the less showy role. She's the button up, straight laced, I don't want to do it, but I like that character, and it's so much fun seeing her play that you know, kind of repressed and there's so many fun moments of her, you know, reading Henry James in a hotel. It's just so funny. And
it's so funny. If I don't know if you've seen this, Dave, but anybody else who is not aware of it, Margaret Qualley does amazing things, but she did this it was a perfume commercial, the Kenzo World commercial. If you search Kenzo World on YouTube, she does a great thing, very similar to the Christopher Walken
I've seen
dancing music video.
It's a really spectacular,
it's good stuff, and she is just like great and magnetic on screen. I think this movie also captures that too. So
I totally bought these two characters' relationship, and one of my favorite moments of that part of that component of the movie was the next day after Margaret Qualley has brought someone back to the room. The next day, they're in the car, they're talking, and she's like, "So how was your last night?" Da, 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 da. And then like just randomly she interjects like, "You shouldn't have brought someone back into the room." Like that's how it'd play out. You'd be talking, and like, okay, you shouldn't have done. Like just randomly you'd say like, "It was not cool what you did. It was not cool." And I completely bought that relationship. It was really delightful. So and yeah, when they finally kind of are intimate with each other, it's very tender and sweet. And I just appreciated that. It's like, oh, this is ultimately, despite all their differences, they're two people who really care about each other. Whether they actually have a viable future together, who's to say? The movie is over. We'll never know.
Right.
The movie's over, although I would love to hear more about their stories. Like that, This is such a fun pair. Yeah.
I don't know. It feels they just seem so different. I don't know.
They're so different, but they're going to Massachusetts.
Yeah, but they're heading to Massachusetts, which I guess was one of the first states where you could have civil unions, right? So that's why they head there at the end of the movie. So anyway, any other thoughts, or shall we wrap it up there, folks?
I don't know. Good stuff for everybody. I still feel bad for Curly. Nobody saved Curly.
Dude, the moment where he's lying on the ground throwing the papers up in the air, trying to get somebody to see him. It's so funny.
He says, like, won't somebody save Curly?
Somebody save Curly.
Yeah. So and Pedro Pascal, he's in this movie for 30 seconds, I guess, like alive, right? Like not for very long, but what a way to open a movie is to see Pedro Pascal stabbed several times comedically. Do you guys remember Crime Wave, the Sam Raimi movie? Like this has similar vibes to the Insanity.
Well, the opening was this extremely heightened reality, and it felt like it honestly didn't fit in with the rest of the movie. Like the rest of the movie is not that. It has like it kind of rises to a little bit, but like it's not as out there as the opening.
By the way, Ethan Coen and Joel Coen wrote Crime Wave, so like there's like a big, I don't know, it just feels like that vibe to me. That movie's not very good, but it sure is stylish. Yeah.
I hope Ethan Coen keeps making movies because I love this sensibility. I just absolutely adore it, and nobody else really nails it. I mean, the Fargo TV show, I guess we have, Holly doing it, but
it's not quite the same. Yeah.
This is my jam 100%.
Random shout out. I also want to say all the service people in this movie I thought just gave really vivid depictions, right? Like Curly, the person at the hotel front desk, the waiter at the restaurant they went to, like just like really kind of memorable performances for like the guy at the end holding the bag of dicks, right? Like all these guys just gave really memorable performances, having like 6 lines in the movie, and I thought the casting and the performances were really well done. So anyway, had a great time. I don't know if I'll think about this movie very much after today,
right?
But I had a blast, and I would recommend it for anyone looking for old school Coen Brothers fun. So
agreed.
And at the end of the day, it is really impressive that Ethan Coen made a movie. Thank you so much for watching this video of the Filmcast. Check out these other videos that we have available, and be sure to hit like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon to get other videos from us in the future.
You can also go to thefilmcast.com to catch all of our audio podcast versions of all of our episodes.
And support this podcast at patreon.com/filmpodcast, where you can sign up for ad-free episodes and exclusive After Darks.
Thanks so much to everyone who makes the Filmcast possible.